Hi, hi, hi. All right, powering through, man. Today's video is the quote from Westworld about peacocks. See it at the top. Now, something super interesting. One second. I shall read the quote. And in all honesty, man, it was delivered with perfection. Forgot the actor's name, but he's like an older actor. Super beautiful. So the quote goes like this: read a theory once that the human intellect was like peacock feathers, just an extravagant display intended to attract a mate. All of art, literature, William Shakespeare, Michelangelo, and the Empire State Building, just an elaborate mating ritual. Maybe it doesn't matter that we have accomplished so much for the basest of reasons. But of course, the peacock can barely fly. It lives in the dirt, pecking insects out of the muck, consoling itself with its great beauty. Now, the thing that got to me when it comes to this quote is the elaborate mating ritual. And almost everything we do, we're kind of like doing to be noticed, for attention, for engagement. I always discuss that our existence as human beings is a form of expression. That life is expressing itself through us, and individually, each one of us kind of like has a specific train of thought, a unique approach to things. And we know that. We all know that even when we agree with each other about certain things, that we're almost always agreeing at a certain distance away from our true self. And a certain distance away from our true self is genuinely because we have to travel a certain distance in our thoughts in order for whatever we're trying to elaborate on to be understood from another side. And some people are smart enough to kind of like build a certain philosophy in their head when it comes to people and when it comes to listening and when it comes to talking and hearing and understanding. And I feel like most of the stories that are discussed, because I was taught as a young kid to listen, but I was never taught why it matters. And when somebody says listen, you most of the first thing you do is hear words and then you imagine yourself actually listening. So the the effort, the ritualistic effort for us to kind of like build something, as per the quote, is basically just one of those see me, notice who I am, notice what I'm trying to do, accept what I'm trying to do. And we're doing that in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of people, in the eyes of the planet itself, in the eyes of animals sometimes, right? Like I see people just going crazy over their pets. You see people going crazy about complete strangers. There's this sensation, probably, that leads us to just do the stuff that we want to do. But motivation, where does it come from? And I think there are like four kinds of desires that are discussed in psychology. And there's the desire to be complete. There's a desire to be noticed. There's a desire for there's a sexual desire that Freud talks about. That's the only desire he sees fit. The social desire is more of an archetypical way, archety archetypical, no, an archetype of some sort. Fuck, man. Just to imagine that most of the effort we do is coming from, is stemming from something within us. And in fact, us trying to express is nothing more than us showing our colors. Because ultimately, we would rather have the choice of anything and everything we do until we get to choose properly. Like, you always have a choice between something and something. But to get to choose what these things are, requires like a significant, I don't know, I guess evolution or just movement towards something specific that is in your head. And so ultimately, every form of expression becomes one of those: watch me, notice me, see me, pick me, allow me, want to be around me, look at me and what I am, what I'm trying to do. Imagine that, imagine how we would actually reap the benefits of our effort if the true reality is, and everyone says it, right? Because everyone says it, like, all the success in the world means nothing if you don't have anyone to share it with. That's fun when you actually listen to it once, twice, three times. But when you look at yourself and you go, like, most of my effort is actually going towards what I want, but then most of the time you're not necessarily feeling as fulfilled because of it. Most of the time you're kind of feeling that there's something missing. And naturally, success driven people kind of jump into success more, and value driven people kind of jump into value more. I think most of us kind of just either accept things the way they are or just avoid something of that reality, avoid such formations of the reality. These videos, I noticed, have become quite personal. And it feels like everything that resonates with me right now is no longer just the philosophy I have towards life. It's me trying to understand what interested me about it. And something as opinionated as the fact that human beings are just trying to get a mate. The reality sounds appealing. It really just rings to the concept of the mammal in us, right? Because we are a species. We breed, we populate, we grow. And effectively, it's a quote from Westworld, man. It's like an actual world built. Like all of it are robots and AI and all that kind of stuff. And I imagine when the man is actually like explaining how he built all of this as a mating ritual. I wonder if that's when people like when the greats expressed. Well, Stan Lee talks about, okay, so that was a horrible video. But Stan Lee talks about like half his comics were inspired by the woman that got away. He was talking about Doctor Doom, how he covers himself because he's broken on the inside and all that stuff. That kind of sounds similar to, well, Albert Camus basically discussed the same thing Camus, when he found love and lost it. Franz Kafka never found love. That's why he basically kept writing. I don't know if it's just writers, artists as well. Fuck business people, man. I've seen people literally just become super aggressive towards their own success because at one point they had somebody that they wanted to hold on to, but they couldn't. Richard Feynman became the physicist he is because the woman he was married to died. And ultimately, he dove into studying in order to just, I don't know, he made that his comfort zone. So maybe that's a necessary trigger for us to understand ourselves deeply, maybe, and express ourselves truthfully. We need the other side. We need to kind of like realize that our feathers are not as shiny as the others, maybe. Or it doesn't matter how shiny your feathers are if you don't display them properly. Because ultimately, the peacocks basically, I think ostriches have like some mating ritual dance that they start doing. It's super cute. And effectively, if you watch people, it's like I'm focusing now more on men, but if you watch society, it's effectively people just walking about, flaunting their shit, and trying to attract a mate. It really boils down to that simplicity, doesn't it? It boils down to how all of us are just really trying to find something that is able to that's able to not fill the empty space, but add more depth to whatever we are. Or at the very least, maybe add more volume, add more life, add more color, add more. And I literally mean it because if this is us and this is the other person, together we're one whole. So it doesn't matter how deep in yourself you get, you kind of need the other part in order to understand what's missing. Yeah, who the fuck cares, man? It's a video. I'm glad these videos are kind of like removing the ego behind. The last couple of weeks or a month, I've been feeling very egotistical because like I've been feeling these videos have become very. I've been feeling noticed, but I'll discuss that in the next video. It's a video though.